Octane AI helps stores increase their revenue and communicate with their customers and provide customer service using Facebook Messenger. So in the same kinds of ways these stores have run traditional email campaigns, we've helped enable them over conversational apps like Facebook Messenger so that they can communicate with their customers where they are, because these consumers have moved away from email and moved away from social towards messaging. We work with everything from smaller stores on Shopify to bigger ones like Apartment2B and Pure Cycles to big enterprise names like L'Oreal and GoPro.
And how do you leverage AI to help these companies?
So our philosophy, I think, is a little bit different than some other companies. We're not trying to throw all the whiz-bang NLP, natural language processing, right in front of everybody in our conversational front end. So like for the consumer experience, you can imagine like getting a message from a store being like, hey, did you forget something if you abandoned a cart, or let me help you, let me recommend a product for you, and asking questions back and forth. And so on our end, typically what we're trying to do is provide a experience that works 100% of the time. So it's not our front end that's doing some crazy NLP stuff. It's on the back end where we're starting to use AI in order to do things like smarter product recommendations, being able to ask a couple of questions and recommend the right product for you, being able to understand which messaging app or which voice app or which communication medium you use the most so that we can send you a message at the right place at the right time, and better targeting and better messaging so that, you know, instead of getting 50 emails about the same 30% discount on a product you don't care about, you might receive only one message, but you know it's really relevant and it's really useful because we've used AI to filter out all the other things that you wouldn't be interested in.
It's interesting that you talk about taking this, more strategic approach. Have you seen any use cases where you think AI just is not the right tool right now for marketing?
All the time, I find lots of companies who say, we use crazy AI for these crazy things, and the truth is, it's either out of the box or it doesn't work great. And so we actually have an internal rule at our company we call it the Chipotle problem, which is if we ever powered a bot like a Chipotle bot or another bot, we never want it under any circumstances to ever admit it had E. coli. You just need it to work every single time properly, and you can't have it completely go off the edge. And the truth is, most of the technology that exists today is not quite there for full consumer use yet, at least on the front end, on the side where you're communicating back and forth. We don't yet have the ability to be best friends with Best Buy because the technology is not quite there. It's still going to be a couple more years, and so we're strategic about which pieces we use on that front. So we, for example, will recommend specific conversations based on what you say, so it can understand you're most likely trying to find out more about shipping or receipt notifications, so we'll send you that. But what we're not trying to do is try to do the entire spectrum on the front end yet, just because it needs to work 100% of the time. On the back end, on our side, though, we are constantly working on it so that there is a point we can start implementing more and more of it when we're fully confident that the consumer experience will work right every time.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the process is like building these conversational tools from your end, how you go about training and building bots, and from the customer experience, what it's like?
So we spent a lot of time at Octane AI building a really, really simple, clean, easy-to-use interface for training a bot, for creating conversations for a bot. And that's what we spent the majority of our time on, making this really clean user interface. And so we have this feature we announced last year called Convos, makes it really easy to create a back-and-forth conversation. We have this tool where it can train your bot. We make it really easy to do all of those things so that the end customer doesn't have to talk to us all the time. They will be able to pick it up and use it instantly. We try to make it so an email marketing team or a general marketing team will understand intuitively how to use our product. And I think that's big in bridging the gap and making it easier to train a bot, making it easier to write conversations for one, making it easier to make a good customer experience.
Do you have any customer stories or use cases that you especially like or have maybe been, unique or innovative in some way?
So I got a bunch of those. So we've been in private beta with our e-commerce functionality. We announced it yesterday at F8, our conversational commerce platform for helping stores communicate with their customers and integrations with Shopify and other platforms that these stores use. And in this test case, for companies like Pure Cycles, which is a big bike retailer, and Philly Flare, which is a big retailer of petite women's clothing, they have increased their revenue between anywhere from 7 to 25% using our software alone. And they were doing it by doing things like, messaging people when they forgot to complete a purchase, asking if they wanted reminders, shipping in receipt notifications, and recommending products. So, in the Kiehl's experience, which is a L'Oreal company, you can actually get asked a bunch of questions by the bot, and it'll recommend a specific product. It'll ask about what kind of skin you have, what kind of product you're looking for. GoPro is another one. They do a different kind of thing, though, where they have all this troubleshooting that you can do with the GoPro bot, where you could tell what kind of camera you have and go down the list and try to figure out what kind of problem you have, and it'll recommend solutions. And if you can't find that solution, it'll hand it off to a human. They've done a whole ton on that area. So lots of cool use cases, but I think the biggest thing is our customers are getting a real ROI result. They're actually increasing their revenue and making customers happier. You can measure that.
So when you talk about ROI, I guess this is maybe just a general marketing question too, but how do you attribute that to your tools, and how do you in general measure the success of chatbots and other automation?
So I'll give one specific example and then a general. So specifically, one feature that our product has is abandoned cart functionality, where stores, lots of people abandon their carts when they're going and shopping on a store website. A lot of times they forget, or they have some other reason, but you don't know why, and you can't email them about it and find out what's wrong with it because they don't leave their email. They don't have a way to have a conversation. We have an integration where it adds a checkbox from Facebook Messenger, where if you check that box and you add something to a cart, it will message you an hour later if you don't complete that purchase, ask you for feedback, or let you purchase right there, or let you ask for a reminder. And so in that case, we can actually track from the beginning to the end. Was it our software that help that purchase get made, the click-throughs and all that sort of thing. And so we can track that attribution really, really clearly, and that's kind of one of the big ones. So an ROI, the biggest one, most important one for a business, is revenue. Does this product increase our revenue? But there are a couple other ones that we track too. We're trying to track how many questions are answered, so that that's decreasing the amount of customer service load, and how happy are customers, what's their sentiment. We're tracking that too. So those are some of the big ones, but always the biggest one is this product helping move our business forward? And we are really detailingly tracking that.
How much does the platform matter? Obviously Messenger has a huge audience. Would these kind of tools work without that sort of ubiquitous coverage?
Not as well as they could be. So Facebook Messenger's been a really good partner to us. There's 1.3 billion people on the platform, and they have these plugins and other tools that you just don't have on SMS and some of the other platforms. We're going to be and working on support for lots of other platforms, but Messenger was an obvious first one for us because of all the tools and the reach that they had.
And when you're talking with your customers about training and building these tools for them, do you think that enterprises have reasonable expectations for chatbots at this point?
I think 2 years ago, the expectations were way off, especially given, I think everyone thought that you'd be best friends with Best Buy, like I said before. They would, you'd have a conversation with the bot and it would be like talking to a human. But of course, that technology didn't exist 2 years ago. Why would it suddenly exist just because a platform launched? I think expectations are more reasonable now, for sure. They are really focused on ROI results and focused on how do we do things that are working. Now there's more case studies. Now there's more examples. And so that's been, I think it's now is the time to be getting in. Now there's really proof that this works and that this drives sales, this drives customer engagement, this drives customer retention and happiness.
And you expanded your platform or your tools this week, right?
Yes, we expanded it to commerce. So our platform, was general bot building. Now we've expanded to commerce, integrated with Shopify, which is one of the big e-commerce cart platforms. A couple clicks and you can be up and running if you're a store. We also integrated with a couple other e-commerce platforms like Klaviyo, which is a big email platform that a lot of stores use, and we're building a lot of integrations right now that we'll be announcing over the coming weeks. But we found that among all of our customers, our e-commerce customers have really driven real value with our software, have really driven real value with bots and Messenger. So we wanted to build more features and more for them, and specifically those integrations with their cart platforms, with their Shopifys, so that they can track the revenue that they're earning, that their platforms can communicate with each other. That's a complete solution for all their messenger needs.
So do you think Messenger is going to be the platform of choice for a while? Where do you see, conversational marketing going?
The interesting thing about conversational commerce, conversational marketing, is that there's a lot of platforms. Messenger is one, but everything from SMS, iMessage, voice, Alexa, Siri, Google Home, there's a lot and more coming out. And so Facebook will always obviously have a place near the center of that universe, but there's some cool things that we've been thinking about and that we're working on that involve some of these other platforms that I mentioned. And we don't see ourselves as a platform for Facebook Messenger. We see ourselves as a conversational commerce platform. What we built is this engine for conversational commerce and using conversation to talk to customers across multiple platforms. And so for us, this is just the first of many platforms we're going to support.
How do you think voice works as a function, as a platform right now for conversational commerce?
So I think we're really, really early in the voice era. There's still not ubiquity of voice products yet. It'll double this year, the amount of Alexas and Google Homes in homes this year. But it takes a little bit of time for it to grow so that it's enough of a point where it's really useful to stores. And so I don't want to tip our hand too much, but there's some cool things in terms of product recommendations and other types of things, experiences that you can only really do with voice. I think the biggest thing, though, is that the market for voice still has to grow a little bit more, because it doesn't have 1.3 billion people like Messenger has, but it will, I think.